everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are so excited today to be talking about two of this weekend's Merry Happy Thanksgiving, whatever they said this weekend. Yeah. And we are talking about the movies that were on the 26th. So the Friday movies, and we're going to be dividing them up into smaller groups. We already did the 9 Kittens of Christmas recap. Then the rest we're dividing into different groups. And so it's going to be fun. But today, we're talking about Christmas CEO and An Unexpected Christmas. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Jess is here.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. So did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. It was pretty low key. We only had like one family get together to go to. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, we had it was like the opposite of last year, because last year it was just me and my parents, which was definitely kind of surreal. But then this year, 3 of my siblings are in town, and so that was, and it was busy because we had one vegan, we had one person, me, who has to be low salt, and then my mom is gluten-free, and so we had like 5 different kinds of stuffing.
Everyone just brings their own.
Yeah. Yeah, I said next year we should just go to the buffet. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun. So, all right. Well, let's talk about these movies. We'll start out with Christmas CO, and this stars Marisol Nichols and Paul Green, director Jonathan Wright, and writer Anna White. And the plot summary is: a small toy company CEO gets a once-in-a-lifetime offer to merge with a mega toy company, but will need her estranged ex-business partner's signature to seal the deal. So, Jess, what did you overall think about this movie?
I thought this movie had a lot of potential because I thought Marisol and Paul had really, really good chemistry. Like, they totally had the chemistry. However, it was kind of dampened by the plot, which I just found myself getting annoyed with because I sided with her character, Chris, most of the way. And I was just kind of annoyed with Paul's character the whole time.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I don't know if I was 100% feeling the chemistry, to be honest. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't enough to save it for me, the chemistry, I have to say. But I was really looking forward to it because I love Anna White, and she's a really great person. She did our watch along in November to check into Christmas, and that was really fun. And I was pretty hyped from hearing her talk about it and everything. And I think that this is a very classic kind of Hallmark movie. Like, this is something that I feel like you would have seen in like 2015, 2016, kind of that era of Hallmark movie. And so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I agree with you completely. I was totally on her side for the whole movie.
But she was cast as the bad guy. Yeah. So it's like we're on the wrong side.
Well, and usually it's sort of the male character in the past that sort of learns the lesson of being less committed to your job and being less, whatever, kind of your Mary Poppins, Mr. Banks kind of storyline. We've seen that many, many times in movies where, and it is a cliche that I hate, where the dad is giving the presentation and then he stops in the middle and he's like, I've got to go, and then he runs and goes to whatever's the recital or the baseball game or the whatever,
Right.
I don't really love it when we do it for men, but for some reason it bothered me even more with her, because I know how hard it is for a woman to get to that point where she is going to be made CEO. Like, there's so few women CEOs. And so it was just kind of like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And also, like, his perspective just didn't make sense. Like, they had that whole conversation about the toy that she designed, and she tells him, I forget what kind of toy it was, but she tells him that we lost money on that toy. Like, it wasn't profitable. We couldn't produce it. And he's like, going with the money again.
But you need money to survive. Otherwise there are no toys.
Yeah. Like, you can't produce a product that is more expensive to make than you're going to, that's profit poor. That makes no sense. I mean, unless you're literally Santa Claus, that's the only person who can do that. And so maybe that would have been
Well, there was a magical Santa in here, right?
Yeah. Surprise, maybe at the end that Paul Green is Santa Claus. Because otherwise his philosophy didn't make any sense. And then for him to like judge her because of that was just frustrating.
Yeah. And I understand the point they were trying to make. Like, she obviously needed some more balance in her life. Totally agree with that. But all they really needed was a slight compromise. And
Yeah.
it could have all worked. So it just felt a little too exaggerated for me. Like, yeah, it could have just been solved a little bit more easily.
Yeah. They could have had her get to be the CEO and get to the merger and work in the dollhouse into the new plan.
Yeah.
You know?
And once she's CEO, I mean, she's the top dog, so she can delegate her heart's desire. She doesn't have to do anything.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah, because it's a merger, and it's not like. And I was confused also about the ending, because they have to start a new company. So did her company is now still merged, but she's not working for it, or I didn't understand what really happened in the end. He signed.
My understanding was there was no merger at all, and they just like changed her company or their company.
I was confused about why they needed to do that. I thought, well, what happened is, like, surely they had some kind of equity in the company as far as intellectual property, other things like that are going to be, they have patents, I assume, of some kind in the company. And so it doesn't just go away. Where did it go? Did they end up buying it? Did the merger go through, but she's just not a part of it? Or I was confused about what.
Well, no, I'm confused.
Happening.
I didn't really think about it, but now that you're saying it, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really. Why would they have to start over? I mean, they still, like, if they just kept their company the way they were going to, and it was doing fine, and they would just make the tweak that they wanted to make. And
because if it ended up having to be sold, or the sale had already gone through or something like that, then why couldn't she still be CEO? I don't know. I was just kind of like, what is happening? But we did get, in the opening scenes, we did get a shirtless Paul Green. And that was pretty exciting.
Like, is this really Hallmark?
Yeah.
The channel
turn on the Lifetime. That was good. And what'd you think of their little toy stand and the little kids?
Oh, I thought it was cute. It's like a little Christmas lemonade stand.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they would sell that many, but hey, I like the ingenuity.
Yeah, they'd probably definitely operate at a loss, but
yeah. And so we find out that there's this proposed merger, and I felt kind of sad about the CEO that they're doing the merger with. They made her seem like the saddest person.
Yeah.
She'd been through husbands, had like a horrible life.
Yeah.
I'm like, geez.
But hey, she has a successful toy company.
Yeah. And and then so she's going to be watching her niece, Emma. And that was probably my favorite part of the movie, is anything involving Emma. I thought was fun.
Yeah. She was a good addition. She kind of balanced it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we find out that he has first, I did think it was funny though, that so she is supposedly like not into Christmas or too busy for Christmas. And yet, so she doesn't have a Christmas tree, yet she has garland on every piece of molding and these like reindeer like stuff everywhere and everything like that. Like, you don't have a tree, but you have all this garland everywhere. Maybe laugh.
Garland's easier than a Christmas.
It's way harder.
Throw it up there.
I don't know anybody that has garland that doesn't have a Christmas tree. That was, I thought, funny. And I always love that in Hallmark movies when they'll have like an all-out Grinch, and yet they cannot have a shot. I mean, I think literally like they have a rule. You have to have some kind of decor in every single scene. And so like this Grinch character who still has garland and reindeer statues and things like that. I think it's really funny. And and then we find out that he has a toy hospital that he takes care of toys, and it didn't really seem like any of his toys that he was like repairing were all that like vintage looking, you know what I mean? Like it didn't
Yeah.
look like, I guess his dad is an antique dealer, but he for some reason was like, oh, I would never want to do that for a living. I'm like, what? uh but yeah, it wasn't like it was like Tinker Toys from the 40s or, you know, like older kind of toys. It looked fairly modern. And he was disgusted by the idea of an app toy. That was just the worst idea ever.
How dare they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Drones,
I mean,
we can't be having that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that kids like sort of an in-between maybe more now. Like maybe they don't play that many app toys, but I think that they like more than just sort of regular dolls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like there's an in-between.
I mean, that's the times that we're in. You have to go with the flow of the century.
I mean, but then again, I think kids still buy Barbies. I think, you know, Legos, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
still
have a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Compromise.
In fact, there's actually a really cute movie. We'll talk about it in Off Network called 8-Bit Christmas, which is on HBO Max, all about this kid. It's Neil Patrick Harris. He's narrating the story about his childhood, and he wants nothing more than to get an original Nintendo set. It's really cute, actually. It was a good movie. But anyway, and there's this whole subplot with it. His parents are trying to get a Cabbage Patch doll for his sister.
Yeah.
So, there's always one of those toys every year. But he's refusing to give the signature because of what the company has become. It's nothing that he can relate to. Not what they started. And says, and she says to him, running a business, you need to make a profit. And I wrote down in my notes, I'm on her side.
Exactly.
Like any sensible person is on her side. Like, of course you need to make a profit. Like,
otherwise your business is no more.
And like, you can't help people. You can't give people jobs. You can't, all the, you know, different things that are, you know, making the business successful. And like, the fact is that even the fancy expensive toys are made in China anyway. So like,
yeah,
it's all the same these days. But so then let's see. Oh, somebody brought up a very good point, I thought, on Letterboxd about this, where they said there are moments that felt like the niece character was supposed to be a young child, but for some reason a tween teenager was cast and they didn't update the script. And I agree.
I thought the same thing.
Yes.
When he carried her when she was sleeping, I was like, this feels weird.
Yeah, right.
You're not 6.
Yeah. I mean, you expect that for 5 or 6 year old tops. And she was 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah, because I had the same thought too when Chris was showing her the like little fake phone thing, and she's like, that's lame, that's not cool. Well, I'm like, well, yeah, because it's made for a toddler, not for a teenager. So of course it seems lame. Toddlers love fake phones because they can't have a real one. Yeah.
So that was I think a very good point, and I agree. I thought that was a strange scene. Like, it was supposed to be all tender and stuff, and I'm like, he's gonna blow out his back doing that. But Emma is bored with the app, likes the old toys, and then they had this whole Christmas movie night in the park, and that was really fun. I mean, I would love to go to something like that.
Yeah,
you know. And it did kind of remind me of Gilmore Girls. They're always having those movie nights.
Yeah.
But then she's like, we'll get our social media people on this and we're going to promote it and everything like that. And he's like, oh, thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, now you want the help. Like, now you want the technology.
Right.
When it's for your little event. I thought that was funny. And so then they go skating. and Paul Green singing in there in that scene. That was kind of fun.
Yes.
And then they go to like this Christmas fair kind of event with the reindeer racing game.
That looks really fun. I wanted to play that.
It looked fun. I agree. But he was being really selfish, and he storms off and he's leaving. And I was just kind of like, what? And so he has all of these toys that they like started off with, and they just all looked pretty bland. Like they were not great toys or memorable toys in any way.
Yeah.
So, and he says, money doesn't matter. And you're like, yeah, that's things rich people say. You know?
Right.
Unfortunately. I mean, if anybody wants to sponsor the podcast, money matters here, please. So she's late for the presentation to the board. And so
Santa turned off her phone. How dare you?
Right. And then Emma says, well, you should marry Joe, which I mean, it felt like they had only fought at that point. So I'm not sure why I want that. And then Emma sings, and she had a very sweet voice. I thought that was nice.
It was good.
So then the board approves the merger, and then Joe, out of nowhere, all of a sudden says, I'm in love with you. When he didn't even seem like he respected her at all.
Yeah.
Because all she cared about was money, evidently.
This was probably the scene that bothered me the most.
Yeah.
Especially when he's like, and she like made a point of it too, like when he said the real Chris. And it really felt like to me that he really only wanted a certain version of her. And he didn't want to support or, you know, whatever the other version. And it's not like she was doing anything terrible. She wasn't defrauding the company or like being unethical. She was just really business focused. And I'm like, it really feels like you're just, only saying I will only support this version of you. Cause then he kind of basically left until she changed her mind. And I was like, that didn't sit well with me.
Yeah. And you have to feel like these people are going to be happy together by the end of the movie, that they need to be together. And I just didn't. I felt like this is not going to last long, this relationship. I mean, and he didn't respect her. He didn't respect her choices. He didn't respect her accomplishments, which is a big problem. And like, what if his vision of the company were to suddenly take off and everyone was supposed to start buying their toys? They would come into the same problems, because eventually you have to increase your supply if there's the demand, and you have to, and you run into the same problems as far as organizing your business, unless you are literally running a one-man craftsman type business. But that's not what that's not what they're doing. I mean, they are producing a product. It's not like, you know, they're going to his store and getting, you know, a craftsman to make you a piece of furniture or something like that. Like that's different, but that's more of like a skill, an artisan skill. This is about producing a product, which they still are, whether it's the like one he approves of or the one that is actually profitable. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, what does he want from this company? I don't know. Yeah. So I agree. I thought I was just, and I didn't make any sense for his character, like the way that he had treated her. If he was really in love with her, would he have stayed away for 7 years and then been completely disdainful of everything that she'd accomplished? I mean, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. So I agree with you too about that it was just very dismissive. And she says to him, you're in love with a version of me that doesn't exist. And he says, I should never have given up on us. And like, okay. And then she gets the signature. And I mean, I think I would have liked, honestly, the movie a little bit better if she had just ended up being the awesome CEO and 1 year later she's ruling things and it's great. But of course we can't, because it's Hallmark. But There's the Santa character, as you mentioned, that's throughout this movie. That's kind of wink, wink. They're the whole thing.
Maybe the real Santa.
Yeah, the real Santa. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he certainly took his time, 7 years.
I know.
And he says, I think Christmas is any time, any day. And we find out the other CEO lady, she's it's a gift from my second husband. This is the only thing that survived was that this gift, the mug, I think it was a mug. It was the only thing that survived. Oh, snow globe. That's right. Snow globe. That's the only thing that survived. More profits, more product. Such a sad. We need to make a movie about her next time.
Yeah.
Give her a love or something.
All right. Love in retirement.
Yeah. And so evidently they didn't move forward with the merger. She's a free agent, which again, we talked about. That doesn't really make sense. But hoping they could start over. And then they do this weird pinky swear, which I get it was a tie back to the beginning, but I was kind of like, I don't know. I thought that was weird. And then finally we get it 1 year later. And we get our kiss at the end. So yeah, this one I didn't enjoy. I liked some of the stuff with Emma and Marisol, or Christmas, I guess her name was. And there were a few fun moments, but I don't know. One of my least favorite of the season.
Yeah.
How many crowns did you give it?
I gave it 2.75 because I did feel some of their chemistry and I felt like there was potential. So I gave it a little more, but it's just.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give it a 2.5. It wasn't like a total train wreck, but it wasn't my favorite. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast.
Cozy up with A Very Bavarian Christmas, a delightful Christmas novel by Katie M. Reed.
Holly Noel Brigham is trapped back in her hometown personalizing ornaments at the mile-long Christmas store, and she doesn't even like Christmas.
As Holly works through fractured relationships and embarrassing misunderstandings, she stumbles upon love in the Bavarian-themed town from which she tried to distance herself.
Best-selling author Crystal Payne says this about A Very Bavarian Christmas. If you're looking for a holiday-themed read that will warm your heart, but also make you think, this is the perfect pick. The storyline and characters draw you in from the get-go, and you'll find yourself relating to their struggles and cheering for their victories.
Available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook.
Pick up A Very Bavarian Christmas for yourself and the Hallmark fans on your list at averybavarianchristmas.com.
That's averybavarianchristmas.com.
Well, let's talk about An Unexpected Christmas. And this one was starring Bethany Joy Lentz and Tyler Hines. And it's it's written by Paul Campbell. And it's Jamie hasn't told his family that he and his now ex-girlfriend Emily broke up. In an inopportune run-in with Emily at the train station in his hometown, Jamie convinces her to pretend they're still a couple to avoid ruining Christmas for his family. Jamie and Emily engage in a week-long ruse of engaging in his family's holiday activities together. While they're stuck in his family's home together, the pair discovers their relationship might still have some potential, resulting in a very unexpected Christmas. So overall, what do you think of this one?
I really loved this one. I thought it had a really great snappy dialogue. It was funny. They had good chemistry, and I actually really liked the family too. It was a really nice family dynamic that they created with his family. And I mean, come on, we got to see Tyler in a inflatable unicorn costume. I mean, does it really get any better than that?
Yeah. And I really enjoyed it too. It had good banter. I really liked the family. I thought they were really, it felt like a family. It felt like something I could relate to, that I could imagine. Basically, my family feels very similar to these people. And I thought that they had pretty good chemistry. I don't know if it is like my favorite Tyler pairing, but I still thought overall they had, good chemistry. I have a little nitpick is I felt like the ending was a little rushed. Like he went from I'm insecure and not ready to be in a relationship to, proposing pretty quickly. for a person. So that would be my only, but it's hard with these movies because you just have such a limited time frame.
Right.
But I don't know if did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
I've seen a few episodes, not a ton though.
I thought that Allison Wanzura, that she seemed like reminded me so much of Kobe Smulders, who played Robin in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh,
like even her
yes,
voice.
I can see that. I can see that. You're right.
Her
Yeah.
and normally she's had blonde hair. Allison has a blonde hair in the movie she's in, and so I think that's why I never really made that connection. But because she had the brown hair, just like Kobe, and I was just like, this is so. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. She sounded so much like her and looked so much like her.
Yeah.
That was funny to me. But I really liked her storyline too. I thought that was really sweet. And I thought that her and Gina had nice, I think that was her name, Gina.
Yes, Gina.
Yes. Yeah, they had really nice chemistry together. Even there's only a few scenes. It was enough to, I think, I thought it was nice. And so she's going to this retreat. She's going to be going to Hawaii. And if you watch the Candy Coated Christmas on Discovery Plus this last week, they also had the character was going to go to Hawaii and ends up in
Christmas destination.
Yeah, end up in like Minnesota, and I'm like, oh, this Hawaii shaming. What's going on? Like all you out there, it's perfectly respectable to go to Hawaii for Christmas. I want you to know. And if you want to bring me along, I'd be happy to go. There you go. That was funny to me. And he says, "You're my Don Draper." And the boss said, "You're my Don Draper." And he's like, he's one of the most one of the saddest characters in the history of television. He's like, but he had the thing. That was funny to me. I'm like, how many Hallmark watchers watch Mad Men? That was like, like, I don't know if the Venn diagram is that strong.
Yeah,
but, but anyway, so they end up in Fulton, Illinois, and she doesn't want to take the job, but they convince her to do it. And at the same time, he's working for the governor who's running for re-election. And evidently the governor is not relatable enough. And so she's needs a big speech. And so he gets assigned to write the big speech. And I have to say, the final speech, I mean, he had such a struggle to come up with basically like, I love my family and this is a nice town.
Winning speech right there.
Yeah. Digging real deep here. I mean, it's not like he was talking like tax reform or criminal justice reform or something like that. That was kind of funny to me. But so they're at the train station and she's getting off the train. The parents see her, think that she's with Tyler's character, I forget his name, and says, "Oh, come with us. And she gets kind of roped into going with them. And she's confused because he broke up with her. And I thought that was kind of an interesting wrinkle to it, that she's the one that had been dumped.
Yeah.
Which I feel like usually it's the other way around in these movies. Like you have the bad man of business and that person,
right.
The girl dumps him. And so she was just kind of like, what is happening here?
I know, but she really just like went with the flow. I mean, she didn't really say anything. She's just like, okay.
Yeah.
It's up in their house.
It's completely ridiculous. I mean, there's no way that this would happen in any kind of real situation. But I think the reason I was thinking about it, that why this works so well sometimes and then why it doesn't work. And I think that at least for me, as long as you don't have like an extended scene where the people that were lied to are like, how dare you lied to me? Because then that ruins it. It ruins the fun. Because it's such a ridiculous premise that you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and just be silly and have fun with it. So when they make it into this like drama all of a sudden, then it spoils it. And that was what's so nice about this is when they finally do learn the truth, the family it was like 3 seconds and then everything was
Yeah.
back to normal. And that's what you want. Even if that's not realistic, nothing about the situation is realistic. So that's why when you bring in realism, it just ruins it.
Right.
So he's been practicing making the announcement. He says, "Oh, she's in the witness protection agency." He also gives
that one.
Yeah, that was funny. And he gives his nephew a giant lollipop, which I thought was funny. And he's like, "What?" Because his sister is kind of traumatized because she's been through a divorce or breakup.
Yeah.
Where they had adopted this child.
Or no, she wanted to adopt.
And then she went through with it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever said who her partner's name was, but she did not want to adopt or something.
And then so the partner goes off to California, and then she's basically single mom, but she's been very kind of hesitant to wearing the mom jeans and things.
Right. Well, she's like, I'm this old with a single mother living at home. It's not a great market.
And then so Bethany's character, she goes to try to stay at the hotel, and he's going to tell his family, but the other people in her company had made the reservation, and so she couldn't use the reservation, or something happened with the reservation. Yeah. And then so she's like, okay, we'll play along a little bit longer. And he agrees to, and he's like taking sleeping pills. That was an interesting wrinkle. He's sleeping in until noon.
I know.
The one thing, it was interesting. So Paul told us when we interviewed him, we'll put a link down to that. He said that originally he didn't get cast because they thought that the movie was for somebody in their late 20s. And I can see that in the script. Like something like somebody sleeping until noon, some of the insecurities, some of that, it does feel a little bit more late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was kind of random. Like, okay. And he's taking the sleeping pills, and she comes in and pours the water on his face.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
That was good. And so her guest of who she wants to have open this hotel for her company, Jackie, she's not able to make it because of snow. And so then he agrees to get the governor to give the speech instead. And
he doesn't really have the governor yet. It's kind of making a promise ahead of time.
Yeah. I like it when he said, "What are you going to do?" She says, "What are you going to do?" "Hi, Gov. It's Jamie O. Maybe not." And then he says, "Maybe not quite like that, but I work with her." That was funny. "Hi, Gov. It's Jamie O." And I think that Tyler, he has a way of delivering those kinds of lines, like with a certain degree of sort of sarcasm that just is so funny and just works. Where, maybe not like that, right? And I think that he has a confidence about him that is very attractive, that I think makes him sell a lot of these scenes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And even in a character like this, where I think it did require a little bit more out of him as far as his acting, of him being insecure and him being this person, there's still just that the way he delivers the dialogue is very confident.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there's going to be this televised Christmas address, and he's trying to reach the governor. He says, "The governor, she loves me," which I'm sure she would. The governor of Illinois probably does love Tyler Hynes, I'm guessing. So then we have the caroling scene that was kind of fun, I thought. And and
isn't that when they took the mistletoe and put it on a fishing pole?
Oh yeah.
Like, that's new. That's
so fun. That's good. And also we got the sister who's a photographer.
Yes.
Because they love those in Hallmark. one day we should do an episode of the best Hallmark photographers.
There you go.
Yeah, would be good. And he's got writer's block, but his sister is directing the town pageant. That was a lot of fun. It kind of reminded me of Love Actually, in Love. Have you seen Love Actually?
I think I have, but it's been a really long time.
Well, in the pageant in Love Actually, Emma Thompson's child is a lobster. So she's like, I don't remember there being a lobster at Bethlehem. And that was kind of like this.
Yeah.
There's a new movie that actually I think will be released. I think on Friday, called Single All the Way on Netflix, which I loved. And they have a pageant in that movie as well. So you've got all the traditional pageants, and then you have elements. And then you have Jennifer Coolidge playing the fairy godmother. Which is just she's like this failed Broadway actress, and so her dream is to like take the show on tour and everything, and so she's like, I don't know, I thought it was hilarious. And so I felt like, I guess that's a thing this season, is like quirky pageants, which I'm a fan of. That was really funny. And his sister's taking this very seriously.
Yes.
During this pageant. And then I loved the moment where the sister and Tyler are talking, and Tyler says, "Permission to get real with you for a second." I loved that. That was such a good line.
Yeah. And they had such a good brother sister like dynamic. They really played off each other really well, I thought.
Yeah. So her son is going to be Christmas tree in the pageant. And he's not that he's nervous about it. Everyone's taking this pageant very seriously.
Yes.
And she basically says, she's like, if you don't marry her, I'm going to marry her, because she's going to be a part of our
keep
family.
her in the family.
Yeah, that was good. I also liked that the sister had a she shed. That was
my goodness. Yes, this movie made me really want to have a she shed. I was like, I need to get with this.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
And he's like, well, I'm not alone. And he's like, you will be in a few minutes because I'm leaving. So then she's talking to his dad, and he says, how did you know that you were in love with Mom? And the dad says, whenever we're apart, I feel like a piece of me is missing, which is so sweet. So sweet. I did love how, so they have they get on your coats, get your coats, and then they're out. There's Operation Get Emily Back. And the whole time the Nutcracker Suite is playing, which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, they had that was a really fun like musical tie in there, driving the scene.
So then he got the governor the speech, but then the governor ends up canceling because her daughter has an asthma attack. And then so Emily leaves because she's so upset about this. She thinks she's going to lose her job and everything. And he says, I'm tired of making decisions out of fear. And so also he overhears her talking when he's doing the play with one of the photographers, and says, the 3 months in the Cayman Islands sounds good to me. That's what the photographer says. And so he thinks that, oh, she's going off to the Cayman Islands, which why wouldn't she?
Right.
She's been dumped by him. And just why not go to the Cayman Islands? I would still go, even if you were together 3 months.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I would still go. But yeah, he is a unicorn in he says, I've come to save Christmas. Come to save Christmas with the power of love. That was funny. That was funny. And so, and I loved how they get to give these slow clap in the audience. That's good. And she says, I'm really tired of feeling like a yo-yo. And she says, I'm the one that's a fool, and I'm the one who's hurt, and I'm done lying to them. And that's when they all overhear. And again, I like the fact that it wasn't like really a thing at all, that they weren't like,
they were more just like bummed because they're like, oh, like she's not going to stay and be part of the family.
Yeah. Right. And then they immediately are in team. Let's get our coats. Operation Get Emily Back. Super cute. And and so then he says, when they meet at the train station, he says, I'm so tired of making decisions out of fear. And he says, I never stopped loving you. I just don't think I believed in myself enough to fight for it. Will you stay? And so she says, oh, I turned down the job in the Cayman Islands. And then our beginning is, I'm so sorry you had to see me as a unicorn.
Yes.
And then the kiss was like, it was a va boom. It was a kiss.
That was a kiss. It was very passionate.
It was a lifetime kiss, not a Hallmark.
I know.
Which was good. So yeah, this was a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought the banter was good. I thought the chemistry was good. I really liked the family. And so I think that this would be a really good kind of gateway film if you want to introduce people to Hallmark movies. I feel like this is pretty accessible. Yeah. To people. So yeah, what would you give it out of 5 crowns?
I gave it a 4.5. I thought it was really good. Everyone who knows me knows I love the comedy, and this one had a lot of humor. Oh, one thing we didn't talk about was the whole bartender scene in the club.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Like, we're a couple of frauds. And then they had the tag at the very end where he's like running away from them.
But it was hilarious when they're all out to dinner, and there's that waiter there. He's
under the table shenanigans.
Yeah, that was really funny. I'm glad you remembered that.
But so I gave it 4.5.
He also talks a lot about how he's the type of person that wants everything to be perfect, and that it scares things. Relatable. It scares him when things aren't perfect, which I can certainly understand. That you sort of expose your own imperfections, your own insecurity when you're vulnerable for a relationship. Yeah. So there we go. They also make the wish. That was cute. And he says on the wishing star, shooting star, and he says, I'll just have to wait and see if it comes true. That was cute. So yeah, I will give it a 4.5 as well. I really did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. I liked the scene when they were dancing outside of the fountain. That was fun. So it had a lot of really swoon-worthy moments, and it was well cast, and it was funny. So it's going to go a long way, and it's going to go a long way. Also, when she's eating that giant hot dog, that kind of made me laugh too.
Yes. Oh, and we had the Andrew Walker cameo. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Can't forget our cameos. Walker, table for 2.
Yeah, this one was really quick.
Yeah.
I think that if we're ranking the cameos, how would you rank? We've gotten 3.
So we had Andrew Walker, we had
Paul Campbell.
Who was the other one?
Tyler in Andrew's movie.
I never caught Tyler's.
Oh, really?
I think I must have been looking down or like not TV. I never actually saw it. I have to go back and look at that one. I think since I didn't see one of them, Paul Campbell's was pretty fun, I thought.
Yeah, I think Tyler's was my favorite, and maybe that's because it was the first, and so it was
But
more
I've
of a
been
surprise.
spoiled to all of them. Like I knew, because I watched them like after I knew about them, so it kind of ruins it when you're not surprised.
Well, also I have to say Tyler told us about Andrew's cameo when we were interviewing him, but of course we were sworn to not. We didn't tell. But yeah, it was a hard secret to keep. But I like the whole idea of it. I think it's fun. It just adds another layer.
Yeah, especially when you don't know it's coming. Because like in the time for us, whichever one, like everyone knew like Allison was going to be in that one for a little bit because she was like in the credits.
There's a fourth one. I actually didn't even know about that one.
But they've been like announcing her name whenever they announce the movie. So it's like, you know, that one's coming.
Yeah.
But these ones are fun because you don't know.
Right. Well, and she was part of the franchise.
Right.
So she was in the third movie. And so that makes more sense. It's kind of more like the evergreen movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I would encourage them to do this and like maybe even make them. I understand because Tyler was saying like he didn't want to take a role from somebody who needed the role, you know, and so I understand that. But it would be fun if they had maybe something slightly more substantive, just like a little scene. Like it would be hilarious if like one of the Hall stars was playing Santa or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be really funny.
Be the magical Santa.
but yeah, it was a good film. I really enjoyed it. So you'll have to let us know what you think in the comment section or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts about either of these films. And we have interviews with both Paul and Tyler. So from this season, so you definitely want to check those out. They're a lot of fun. But Jess, how can people follow you on social?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessBSWblog.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast on Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really, really need those reviews that helps people to find the podcast. We also have our Patreon group, which is really fun. We have giveaways. We have our watch-alongs. Our next one is going to be with director David Weaver. On the 16th, we are going to be watching Christmas Town, which is one of my favorites from recent years. So that's going to be a lot of fun to hear all of his behind-the-scenes details. So sign up for the Patreon. We sure appreciate it. We also have our merch store. So if you're looking for gifts for the Hardy Postable, for the Hallmark fan in your life, for just the movie fan in your life, we've got lots of fun designs. Please take a look and we would sure appreciate it. So all that information is in the description. And thanks so much, Jess. This was a lot of fun. And Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.